Welcome to Worship Tutorials. My name is Brian, and welcome back to our beginner guitar lesson course. In this lesson, we're going to learn what I would consider the four major chords in the key of A. So the chords we are going to learn are A, D, E, and F sharp minor. All right, so if you're just finding this video on YouTube and you would like to learn how to play the guitar from having never picked up a guitar all the way to playing full songs, please do I encourage you to sign up for our course. It is completely free at Worship Tutorials. You can find the link below. It will take you systematically from never having picked up a guitar before to playing complete songs. We're in sort of the chord building phase of the course. You can also get full page printouts of these chord diagrams if you'd like to sort of build a binder of chords. That's available to you for free as well. Let's get on to the lesson. Like I said, we're going to learn the A major chord, the D major chord, the E major, and the F sharp minor chord. The F sharp minor is one that is usually a little bit difficult for a beginner because typically you play it as a bar chord, but I'm going to show you an easy way today. All right, so in our key of D lesson, we already learned how to play D and A. So I'm going to briefly go over those chords, starting with the A chord. Now there are a couple ways you can play the A chord. Some people, you can play it with one finger like this. You can play it with two fingers, sort of a different variation of A. You can play it with three fingers all kind of in a line. But the way I prefer to do it is this. You take your second finger and you put it on the D string, second fret. You take your third finger, put it on the B string, second fret. Now, you want to put your index finger on the G string, which is between these two, also on the second fret. They all go on the second fret. And I like to kind of wedge it in there, and you mute the low E with your thumb, and it sounds like this. And I like to play it this way because it allows my fingers to be as close as they can be to the fret. If you play it like this finger ends up being a little ways away, and I don't like that. Okay, so that is your A major chord. The root of that chord is the open A string. All right, moving on to the D major chord. Again, we have already learned this chord in our course, but let's briefly talk about it. Take your index finger, put it on the one finger, put it on the second fret of the G string. Put your third finger on the third fret of the B string and your first finger on the second fret of the high E string. Mute that low E with your thumb. That's what I like to do. And then play all the other strings, and it sounds like this. A lot of chord diagrams will show you muting the E and the A string. And that is because this D, this open D, is the root. And so if you mute the E and the A, the open D rings out as the first note in the chord. But personally, I like to let the A string ring out. All right, that is your D. So we have a couple new chords today. We have the E chord and the F sharp minor chord. So to play the E chord, take your second finger, place it on the second fret of the A string. Take your third finger, place it on the second fret of the D string. I kind of like, you have to move your second finger up a little bit away from the fret to get your third finger in there. Then you take your first finger, put it on the first fret of the D string. Now, on the E chord, the low E, the open string, is your root. So you let it ring out, and you let all the other ones ring out as well. When you play it, it sounds like this. That is an E major chord. Now for F sharp minor, I'm going to show you sort of a variation of this chord that makes it a little bit easier to play, especially as a beginner. And I'll say this, in the key of A, whenever I'm playing in the key of A, almost exclusively when I see an F sharp minor and I want to play it open down here, I play it this way rather than the bar chord. So it's not just, to me, it's not just an easy way to play the chord. I actually like this voicing of this chord. I prefer it to the full bar chord shape. But it just depends on what you want to do. But to learn it today, in this beginner course, take your third finger, put it on the 4th fret of the A string. Take your 4th finger, your pinky, and put it on the 4th fret of the D string. And then place your 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string and mute the low E with your thumb. When you play it, it rings out like this. Make sure you get your fingers as close as you can to the fret, because you don't want to do what I just did and have it sound like that. The closer you get, the better. That is your F sharp minor chord. Now, if you're just starting out and you've never played that chord before, that might be kind of a stretch to get your finger all the way down to the 2nd fret. It's a lot easier to put it on the 3rd fret, but that's not where you want it. So it might take a little bit of work, and it might strain your hand a little bit. Your hand might be a little sore if you practice this one a lot, which is just fine. But it's kind of a stretch to get it down there. One thing I would do is move your thumb closer to where you want your index finger to be. So don't put your thumb up here behind sort of your 3rd and 4th fingers. Then it's going to be really hard because your hand is sort of contorted in this weird shape. You want your thumb to be more down here behind your index finger, and then these 2 fingers will kind of naturally fall into place. So that's a bit of a tip that might help make that little bit of a stretch easier for you if you're struggling to get that. As always, your chords, since you're just starting out, if you are just starting out, your chords might sound a little bit like this, as an F sharp minor, for example. And that is okay. Work on posture. Practice posture all the time. Just the more you practice, the easier this is going to get. But you want your wrist to be kind of falling naturally down toward the bottom. Almost, you don't want it completely under the fretboard or the neck, but you want it to be natural. You don't want it to be up here either. You don't want your fingers coming down this way across the fretboard. You want them to be coming in sort of perpendicular to the fretboard when you play. Sorry, I played a different chord there. Okay, there needs to be a little bit of space right here between your hand and the fretboard, and that will help. But just keep practicing, and the more you practice it, the more you play it, the more clear those chords are going to ring out. But make sure your fingers are only touching the strings that they're supposed to be touching and not strings next to it. As always, I recommend that you memorize these chords. Memorize them as fast as you can. Whenever you start to play songs, or sort of in the next section of this, the whole course, we're going to start talking about rhythm and strumming, and we're going to get into like changing chords a little bit. And as you change those chords, you don't want to have to reference a diagram or a binder or an image that shows you where your fingers are supposed to be. You want to make sure that you know exactly where to put them. And eventually muscle memory will kick in, so you'll be able to change those chords a lot faster. But spend some time every day. I recommend about a half an hour a day practicing, memorizing these chords, making sure that you know them all. At this point, we've learned quite a few chords. We have a few more keys that we're going to go over, but at that point, you're going to have learned enough chords to play almost any song that you'll run across. So keep practicing. I encourage you, keep at it, and it's going to get easier and better, and you'll be playing songs before you know it. Thank you so much for watching, for signing up, for taking this course with me. I will see you in the next lesson. Bye.